1, 2, 3. Okay, let's go. Let's roll the cameras. We're 1632. Black against Kavas 2 from Turkey. Okay. And we have ourselves a Sicilian. And are we finally going to get an open Sicilian for the first time in the speedrun? No, still no open Sicilian. But the next best thing, we get a Rossolimo. And if you're a self-respecting accelerated dragon player worth your salt, you definitely need to know how to face the Rossolimo. We have faced it once when we were about 1300, 1320. And those of you who watch the speedrun assiduously might remember that we actually faced a very, very reasonable opponent who demonstrated pretty good knowledge of White's main Rossolimo ideas. And at one point, I was even worse. To quickly summarize what is available to Black in this position, there are maybe 4 or 5 reputable moves, but the two main ones are G6 and E6. And which move you should decide to play primarily depends on what you play against the open Sicilian. The same, by the way, goes for choosing a line against 2 knights C3. If you are a Taimanov player or a Pal or a Khan player, then you normally gravitate toward E6, just because you get the similar type of structure when you play E6 here. If you are an accelerated player, then to me, it makes the most sense to play the most popular move in the position, which is G6. Our opponent castles, and White has sort of one major fork in the road. There are variations where White takes the knight on C6. This is the sort of traditional main line, but more recently, a lot of top GMs have been playing kind of a cross between a Rossolimo and an Alapin and playing the move C3 either in this position or after castling. So let's see if our opponent does indeed choose the fashionable C3 variation, which I play myself. Well, we don't have much of a choice. We fianchetto our bishop. And in this position, okay, rook E1. So rook E1 is, to my knowledge, not a super popular move, but it's obviously not, a move like rook E1 can't be bad. White keeps maximum flexibility. White keeps the option open of taking the knight on C6. I'm already out of theory. We're basically on our own here. How should we develop? If you're looking at this for the first time, then you're probably leaning toward just moving the knight out to F6. But if you watched sort of the previous Rossolimo game, then you might be a little bit better acquainted with some of Black's typical setups here. And there is a move that I would imagine nobody would ever want to play unless you're specifically familiar with the setup that this move is a part of. And this move is actually E5, E7, E5, and it's a hard move to explain on the basis of general principles alone, because if you look at this move, what might jump out at you is that it blocks in the bishop. That's a negative. It creates major holes in the center. That seems to be another negative. And there don't seem to be any obvious positives of pushing the pawn out to E5, and yet that's exactly what we're going to do. So I'm going to zero in on the reasons for which we play it after the game, because I could potentially take 10 minutes to explain why E5 is an effective move in the Rossolimo for Black. It's not an easy thing to explain, even if I have access to the board, but I definitely need access to variations to help you understand the rationale behind E5. So for now, I'm going to play it, and hopefully the course of the game also teaches you a little bit about why E5 is an effective move. Knight to C3. Our opponent is developing normally. Now, the first good thing about playing E5 is that the knight gets an additional development square. And as you know, when there's a bishop on B5 and it's making contact with the knight on C6, it's generally a good idea for the knights to link up, right? When the knights link up, that just is a compact, nice way of developing. And by playing E5, we are opening up for ourselves a square on E7 for the knight, where we're going to put it, knight G to E7. And we're going to follow up, of course, by playing pawn to D6. Another positive of the pawns on E5 and C5, much like in the Morozzi bind, which White can play against the accelerated, these pawns are combining to seriously clamp down on the D4 square. In fact, that square is protected 1, 2, 3, 4 times by our pieces and pawns, making it virtually impossible that White is ever going to play D4. And our opponent plays d3, which is not such a big deal, but white's a little bit more cramped in the Sicilian when they don't play d2, d4. Okay, so here we can obviously castle kingside, but I would prefer for us to start by playing the move d6. I don't like the fact that the bishop is closed off by the pawns, and holding off on castling can actually bear fruit. So for instance, if white plays bishop to g5, we can conceivably play h6 and then g5. And if we're not castled yet, we can actually keep our king in the center or even castle it to the queen side. And then we'll have carte blanche on the king side just to attack with our pawns. Whoa, Jabberwockies with the 5,000 bits. Holy smokes. Let's go d6. And not castling a little bit later than you normally would is a very advanced technique that needs to be done with tremendous amount of caution, because if you leave your king in the center too long, that comes with a lot of risks. But here we benefit directly from the way we've positioned our pawns, right? White is never going to be able to open up the center. d4 is never a possibility, and so keeping the king in the center is a totally sensible course of action. There we go. There's bishop g5. There's bishop g5. So we have basically two ways in which we can set our kingside pawns in motion. And this is going to be some very, very advanced positional chess. We can play the move h6. But what is my worry in regards to the move h6? My worry is not that white is going to drop back to h4. That runs right into our scheme. We're going to play g5, and then we can play h5 later. That looks great. My slight worry is that after h6, yeah, exactly, white takes on e7. We can't take back with the knight. We have to take back with the queen. And then white plops the knight on d5 with tempo, forcing our queen back. And then white pushes the c-pawn out and potentially prepares d4. So black is fine there. We would castle kingside and the game would continue. Thank you, Adidan, for the 10 subs. Oh my gosh. But I think there's another way in which we can achieve our main plan of essentially attacking on the king side without allowing white to take this knight on e7 and establish control of the important d5 square. And this is a move that obviously your brain automatically cancels out because of its reputation, but I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with it in this position. Anytime the center is completely closed, you can often play moves that with an open center would be totally unthinkable because of how weakening they are. But I like the move f6 here. Bishop comes back to e3. Maybe our opponent would have done that anyway against h6. Okay, so since the bishop comes back to e3, I think we need to change our plans slightly. Against bishop h4, we would have played g5. Now, we could still play g5 and then h5, and that's a viable scheme, but because the move g5 no longer comes with tempo, I think we should instead make the emphasis on completing our development. And especially anytime you play f6, you have to be very careful about the a2 ga diagonal, which you weaken, and that's why f6 is often accompanied by the bishop development to e6. We're just covering the diagonal that we just weakened. Our opponent continues to play instantly. So we've completed our development of everything except our king. We could consider castling queenside here, but I would be very worried about white blasting open the queenside with like a3 and b4. So let's play things in a slightly more tame manner, and I think we should just castle kingside. I think the time has come for us to castle kingside. Our opponent might be preparing bishop h6, but our bishop is not really the pride of our position. I totally don't mind giving it away or trading it off. And I actually think we have a very nice position. What really hurts white is his inability to push d4. White really doesn't have anything sexy going on any side of the board, while we have superior control of the center. Visually, our pieces might look more passive, and our pawn structure might look sketchy, but it's not sketchy at all. We don't have a single weakness in our position. We have managed to defend the square on d5 with two of our minor pieces, making knight d5 impossible. Okay, now we need to transition from sort of the developmental phase to the phase where we actually transform our development, our nice development, into something concrete. And the position is closed, which means we need to be very patient, and we need to put the emphasis on kind of gradually improving our position. Nothing happens too fast in positions like these. Okay, so let's think about what's available to us. I'm going to take a moment to think here. I have a pretty cool idea. And again, we are violating rules left and right. Like, this is another move that violates positional rule. And not only that, but it contradicts what I just said. Right? Well, we have put two of our minor pieces such that the d5 square is protected and the a2 g8 diagonal is guarded by the bishop. But since we have castled kingside, a potential white bishop check on c4 is not dangerous at all. Our king just moves over to h8. So the weakness of that diagonal is no longer essential. And I think our knight on e7 is perfectly capable of guarding the d5 square on its own. Right? Notice that if white puts a knight on d5, let's say our bishop isn't there, and we take back, white has to take back with a pawn. And you know that weak squares are best occupied with a piece. If they're occupied with a pawn, that's not dangerous for us at all. In fact, it gets rid of our weakness for us. Nimzovich was the first to sort of formulate that idea. So what idea am I really getting at here? Well, there's a weird move that may seem to fall prey to one-movitis, but it's actually a threat which is quite hard to parry. And I'm talking, as some of you are indicating, about the move bishop to g4. Now, what do we even want? Well, obviously we want to take the knight and completely ruin white's kingside pawn structure. I might say, well, haven't I said previously that you shouldn't make moves that only intend to ruin pawn structure? So again, it's not the pawn structure that's important, it's the fact that white's king is on the king side. So if we're able to take on f3, we will plop our own knight on the equivalent weak square on d4, and we'll already be threatening a fork. And our queen has very easy access to that h3 square. So we're actually trying to deliver checkmate. That's the point of bishop g4. And that knight on f3, this is the sort of motivation behind this move, doesn't have all that many retreating squares. In fact, it only has one, and that's a super ugly square on h4. Okay, obviously we take back. Now, if white can't move the knight, then white has to defend it. But there's also not that many ways to defend it. The bishop can't jump over the pawn. If white goes queen to e3, and this is really what I had to see, or rook to e3, we have a very nice follow-up, and we start taking control of the initiative. The rook and the knight are unforkable squares. You have to notice that. So if a pawn appears on d4, that's a fork. So the move stems very naturally from that observation. Yeah, f5 is a great move here. I think f5 is actually a viable alternative. In fact, it might even be better than what I was planning to do. Let me think about this again for another second. The move that I was thinking about, of course, is knight c6 to d4. But after knight d4, white has this very weird defensive move. The knight actually now has the e1 square as a retreating square. So f5 is a phenomenal alternative. We are trying to drive that pawn down to f4, kick the rook out of the way, and then take the knight on f3. I really like both of those moves. So knight d4, knight e1. I'm just trying to find a follow-up in that position. If we find a good follow-up, we'll go knight d4. I mean, we could play f5 in that position. Absolutely. Or we could play f5 in this position. It's one of those things. Both of these options look so good. But what I like about the move f5 is that it also threatens to win material. Like if white moves the knight, then we play f4, and we potentially trap the rook. This is actually a very hard choice. And I'm not pretending to be thinking. I'm actually trying to assess both of these options. Okay, let's go for our initial intention and play knight d4. I think this move is going to be very hard for white to face, practically speaking. I vote knight d4, and I'm the dictator here, so sorry. Okay, well, the move worked like a charm. Okay. Now, I think I know what our opponent has missed. I think our opponent wants to go rook to g3. In a way, I wish we would have played f5, because that would have been a little bit more meat on the bone. What our opponent forgot about is that when we take the knight, we're simultaneously attacking the queen, right? That is something I didn't point out, and now our opponent starts thinking. And we faced a couple of players now who've just like played the opening and early middle game phase instantly, and then only start thinking when they blunder something. Now, the game is far from over. We've got an extra piece for a pawn, but it's not, you know, we still have a little bit of work to do. Okay, well, I guess not. We would have dropped our bishop back to e6 and then deployed our queen over to b6 and then brought our rook to c8. I mean, all the pieces really come in, but that was a pretty anticlimactic ending, unfortunately. Okay, let's have a look. Let's have a look. So we face the Rossolimo, and then we play the move g6. And when we faced this for the first time, I gave you sort of a general rundown of the possibilities that both sides have. So I would sort of redirect you to that video. I won't just repeat myself. In that game, we did face bishop takes c6. And then we took back with the d-pawn in order to open up the bishop. And we actually played something very similar to what we did in this game. I think white played d3. And let me see if I can find that game. Was it this guy? No, this is the guy who played a pretty darn good game. This might have been in the previous speedrun. Just trying to find this guy. Yeah, this might have been in a previous speedrun, so I won't look too hard for it. No, it wasn't this game either. Anyways, I think what we faced was bishop c6, dc, d3. The point I'm trying to make is that in this position, I think we played bishop to g4. We traded the bishop for the knight, and then we played the move e5. Like we didn't play bishop g4. We just played e5 straight away. So it's the same general type of pawn structure, which is aimed at preventing d4 and establishing kind of a very watertight clamp in the center. And there's a lot of theory in this position, so I'll redirect you to that other game. Here we faced a fundamentally different setup where white does not take the knight on c6. And as I said, the move c3 here has gotten exceedingly popular. It's actually the recommendation of Wesley in his e4 course. I have played it with white. And here the main line goes much like in the Alpen, by the way, knight f6. Now the old move, which I've played a lot, is to play this literally like an Alpen, e5, knight d5, d4. But black equalizes here pretty easily. After cd, cd, black castles, knight c3, and to my knowledge, the best move here is to drop the knight back to c7 and quickly try to smash through the center with d6. There are some crazy lines here where white plays bishop g5. I had a couple blitz games like this. Takes a6, and here white has this move knight to d6, using the pin against the e-pawn. Things get wild here. There's a line where black plays h6, white drops back, and black plays g5. And it looks like black has won a piece. Because if the bishop moves, then you take the knight. If the knight moves, you take the bishop. But white has this sacrifice on g5. And after hg, white sacrifices another piece. And here, there is a move which almost nobody knows. If you don't find this move, you lose the game. So almost everybody who I've had this position against in blitz, they take the knight and stumble into queen h5. And the point is, okay, black can give up the queen, but that's basically losing. But the move rook e8 may seem like it yields a draw, because white is 2 pieces down, so it may appear that you have to repeat moves, but you don't. White is completely winning after queen g6, threatening mate. And now the very zen move, f4, is just crushing, because white threatens f5, f6, and these pieces are totally unassailable. Like, there's just nothing black can do. Black is not developed. So, for instance, after knight d4, you just rush the pawn down to f5. This is a cool line. Like, de f6, and it's just mate. And the power of, you know, a couple well-placed attacking pieces. Rook e6. Okay, rook e6. Where? f4, rook e6 is the top engine move. But now you go here, here. Or sorry, you go queen h7 check. You force the king onto the f file so that there's an x-ray. And now you play f5. Beautiful stuff. Queen g5, fe is a check. That's why we gave that check on h7. And here there's some beautiful lines. You give another check with a rook, and you can take the bishop on g7, but even better is to set up a discovered mate against the king with queen g8. And look at this mate, knight e7, rook f6, double check and mate. Just amazing mating position. Both pieces, I love it when both pieces, when it's a double mate, and both pieces are hanging. Just the power of the double check is on display here. Yeah, no, these are really cool lines. So that's why I like this so much for white. But there's a party pooper. And by the way, f5, rook h6 traps the queen. And here there is a showstopper for white. I'll let you guys try to find white's move. This is like and I know we're not flipping the board because I don't want to flip the board too many times. We're ultimately looking at this from black side, so you'll have to bear with it. White to play and win. Beautiful move. You're going to be down 3 pieces at some point. Not queen g6, because if you play queen g6, it's just 1 check, and then I'll move my king to g8. You run out of gas. Knight to e6 is correct. So the right idea to open up the f file, but you do it by sacrificing the least amount of material. So if black moves the king, then the queen is free to go. Takes, check. White is down 3 pieces. And that's it. King has to move, and the queen meanders past the bishop and delivers mate. So technically, the best move is rook f6, but now you actually play rook takes f6 with the idea bishop f6, queen f7 mate. So, yeah, so this is very enjoyable stuff. And all of this is uncorked once you play f4. You have to know this move f4. So I can show you more lines, but you kind of get the gist of it. So the problem is that there's a party pooper in this position. And the party pooper is this move f7, f6. I mean, very hard move to play, but the move should make sense. The piece that you really need to eliminate is this knight on g5. That's the bane of black's existence. And the position is very unclear. White plays e takes f6. Now, again, if you play ef, which people have done against me, suddenly the queen moves to the other side of the board. Queen b3 check. And obviously there's a fork. Right? As I said, anytime you push the f pawn, you have to keep tabs on the a2 g8 diagonal and vice versa. Obviously, if white checks here, black has e6. So after ef, black has to play rook f6. And I think according to modern engines, black is slightly better here. If the game goes on, it's just a super complicated position. Black has a piece, but white has 2 pawns, and white has this monster knight. And you can analyze this on your own. I haven't plugged this into Stockfish 15, so I don't know what the current assessment of this line is. Now, long story short, this is not forced. So black can also, for example, if he wants to avoid this, take on c3 and play the line which a lot of people play against me in blitz, which is takes in d6. But I was always under the opinion that in a position like this, white is a little bit better. But perhaps bishop e6, kind of clamping down on the light squares, is the equalizing line. So anyways, the thing is, recently, almost everybody is playing the move rook to e1. And this is what Wesley recommends. And the point is to avoid playing e5 and to play d4 in one fell swoop. And here, you get a position where white has control of the center, but black counterstrikes with d5. And this is a very theoretical position. Caruana Carlsen, you can find tons of super games in this position. It appears that white might be slightly better, but the jury is still out. So this position is super topical. There's knight c3, there's bishop to e3. I mean, there's a ton of different types of moves here. I think Wesley recommends this, and then like knight bd2. So yeah, white is a little bit better here, I think. In any case, hopefully we'll get another Rossolimo, and I'll delve a little bit more extensively into the theory from Leck's perspective. Our opponent went rook e1, and we immediately play this move e5. So hopefully I did a halfway decent job of already explaining what the rationale is behind this move. And it's one of those things that visually looks extremely unappealing, but the more you look at it, the more you understand that the purported defects of this move aren't all that bad. So let's go one by one. First of all, it blocks in the bishop. Well, as I've said before, when you have a construction with a bishop and a pawn, I like to think of this as one unit. The pawn is like an extension of the bishop. Right? Yes, the bishop controls less squares, but if you think about it, the bishop and the pawn are both controlling the d4 square. They're like part of the same machine, and if you think of it that way, then the bishop stops looking that bad. Okay, next point is that it weakens the d5 square. Yeah, but as you saw, we're able to put a knight on e7 and potentially a bishop on e6, and it's actually very hard for white to occupy the d5 square. As for the d6 square, we're going to put a pawn there, so that weakness is going to be eradicated. And the plus of this move is just that it controls the center in such a robust way. Okay, so white plays knight c3. We get our knight out to e7, d3, d6, bishop g5. And here I actually really like the move f6. Another move which looks very unappealing. h6 was possible, but again, I did not want to allow white to accomplish the task of getting the knight to d5. But really, this is not bad for black either. I really don't think that black is any worse in this position. And if you play the Sveshnikov Sicilian, you will know that these types of positions are not that bad for black, because black has the very typical plan of going f7, f5, and essentially getting stuff going on the king side. Good pieces don't win games. The knight on d5 is annoying, but black can live with it. Black can go around it. And white does not have a clear plan in this position. Because, okay, white can try to go d4, but that ain't going to cut it. I mean, white just loses a pawn. So white is plagued by the fact that he can't open the center. Black has no other weaknesses. So white is sort of at a dead end here. The engine move is a4. And that's a sign that there is just nothing really sexy that black can do here. I would move the king away to h8 so that there's no shenanigans on this diagonal when we play f5. Okay, bishop c4. And already black can seriously contemplate playing f5. Yeah, the engine basically says that white should... Okay, white ef is the engine move. That's not a very human move to give black, these pawns. This has actually happened. g3. I see a game in the database. Wow. This is interesting. I wonder who was playing. Bishop d7, knight h4, bishop e8, f4, queen d7. Complicated position. So anyways, we were spoiled for choice in this position where we could have played h6, but I wanted to prevent white from achieving his aim and playing f6. Bishop e3, bishop e6. And again, here, our plan would change based on where white put their bishop. So in the event of bishop h4, I was seriously contemplating g5. Bishop g3 and h5. And just look at this bishop and how it's biting on granite. This bishop is terrible. We're threatening to win the bishop. And if white plays h3, we just go bang and then bang. And this is why we keep the king in the center. Not just because the king would be less safe on the king side, but also because we actually want the rook to be on h8 to support the move h3. This idea also occurs very frequently in the Italian. Very frequently in the Italian. Where you can keep your king in the center and this furious lightning pawn storm on the king side can often result in checkmate. Especially if white puts a pawn on h3 prematurely, because that pawn can be used as a hook. This move g4 is a lot more dangerous when there is a pawn on h3 because white is essentially forced to take, and now there's nothing white can do about this pin. Moving the queen results in disaster because it allows bishop takes f3. And I had a game in the Italian where I think I demonstrated these types of ideas in a completely different opening. Let me see if I can dig it up really quickly. This was actually one of my nicer games on the black side of an Italian. It was a pro chess league game where I just decided to go all out, and it worked. Justin Tan is now a GM from Australia. He was an IM when we play this game. Here we go. So let's flip the board because we're looking from black side. So this was an Italian. And, okay, so blah, blah, we play in the normal Italian moves, and then he plays h3. And I'm like, okay, the guy plays h3 before I castled. So the normal move for black is just to castle. But I just decided I'm going to use that pawn as a hook. And here's what I do. h6, frickin' g5, and g4. I don't give a damn. I'm just taking with the bishop. We get a very similar situation. He takes it, whatever. Knight h5, queen f6, knight f4. I mean, all the pieces are coming in. And he's doing nothing in the center. My center is perfectly well defended. Rook g8. Right? And this is why it's so good. My king in the center is perfectly safe. He's not doing anything to it. Bring the other rook into the game. Bring the knight into the game. And ultimately, he started taking my pawns, but I won his bishop. And then I brought my bishop back and sacked the rook on g3. This is a really nice game. He can't take it. Because then I take it and mate him on h3. And I just destroyed him. I just took all his frickin' pieces. All of them. Mate. It's funny that his king ends the game on c1. It runs all the way to the queen side only to get mated there. But I could show you a million games like that. This h6, g5, g4 attack is very dangerous. And it's very dangerous when the center is closed and when your king is relatively safe in the center. So hopefully this made some sense and gives you a new perspective on these attacking ideas. So that's why we would go g5. But after bishop e3, black could still go g5, actually. But I don't love this move when it doesn't come with a gain of tempo. Because it's harder and it takes longer to get stuff going on the king side. But we still could have considered. Instead, we decided to play this more conventionally with bishop e6. And here I think white starts stumbling. Queen d2 is a bit of an aimless move. And this plan that white carried out of trading dark squared bishops is a total waste of time, just a complete waste of time. In fact, it also deprives the knight of this square. How would I play here with white? Well, what I would do is go by the logic of exchanging black's most important piece. The bishop on e6 is an important piece because it controls the light squares in this. So I would play this move bishop to c4. Now, definitely black does not want to take. That opens up the d file and allows white to attack d6. We would probably go queen d7. And now I would move the knight away from d2 and try to quickly push f4. Basically beat black to the punch. Although according to the engine, black is better after f5. So white's king starts feeling pretty uncomfortable with things opening up. So I don't know. I think black's position is just very, very comfortable here. Top engine move is like, again, a4. Engine doesn't really know what to do. And then black already will play f5 as we were planning. But still, I think perhaps trading and then playing f3 gives white a very solid position. Double-edged. So I think bishop c4 was the best bet for our opponent. But as you can see, just playing this with white and not opting for one of the two main plans, either taking early or going c3, d4, is just very difficult. White is really stifled here. Bishop to g4, which I think was a really good move. And after rook e3, knight d4 is really the beginning of the end for white. Now, he took and lost the game immediately. The only move here would have been to drop the knight back to e1. And here we were planning to play f5. And what I needed to see is that after h3, what should black do? Who can tell me the key idea for black? This is what I spent a little bit of time trying to calculate. Yeah, it's f4. So you ask, what happens if I do it anyway? And the rook is trapped. I mean, white takes it, you take it. That's not the end of the story. Black has some work to do. But after knight b5, LPDO, the knight is undefended, the pawn is undefended. Bang. That's a fork. a4, a6, chase the knight away. Take the pawn, and now you're a full exchange up and you're completely winning. And all this time, the knight on e7 is playing a purely defensive role, but a very important role. It's guarding the d5 square. It's okay for a piece to play a purely defensive role. Thank you, Mr. Loopy. So anyways, the situation after f5 is already very dire. It's like -2. White has to somehow stumble and bumble his way around just to save the rook, but after f3, we still play f4. Doesn't change anything. So the situation is terrible for white. Obviously, this loses the game on the spot, and that's unfortunate, but after knight d4, I think we're already close to winning. Now, at the end, we would have played bishop back to e6, and then maybe d5, rook c. The conversion process here is very, very straightforward. Also, the rook is terrible. It's just doing absolutely nothing. It's out of the game. That makes things even worse for white. That was a bit of an anticlimactic game, only 16 moves, but still, a lot of positional concepts at play there. Bye.